Welcome to Tony at 12. If you are looking for a really good and highly original script, spiced up with plenty of humour, double entendres, and local references, look no further. Lee Flewitt is your man. I'm Tony LeBlanc, and today I'm in conversation with Lee Flewitt. And Lee, before we begin, I must just read this. Our prolific and highly imaginative local author, Lee Flewitt, has written, produced and performed in numerous pantomimes, including his first Peter Pan panto back in 1991. Lee has also written a play and published his first novel, ODD, in 2015, which is on sale at Amazon. Now, who do you think wrote that for you? Your press officer.
I imagine Alona had a hand in that one, yes. She always writes in such glowing terms about me. It's lovely.
A big hand, and we have to thank her very much for what she did there. But let's talk about the background here. How did you get into dramatics and writing in the first place?
Well, it was many years ago. I was on Alderney. I expressed a willingness to go on stage like any foolish young man, and someone picked me up on it. It was one of the people who ran the then theatre group. It was called the Alderney Drama Society then, I think. And I was roped in, and I played a young lover in a farce on stage, on the Alderney stage. And thereafter, I was, because we have such a shortage of young men who want to go on stage on Alderney, I was just roped into everything. And then I was roped into a panto, and they said, "Oh, by the way, you've got to write your own scene." So I wrote a scene. I wrote a scene in my own panto where I was Doctor Who, and I think it was The TARDIS Appears, which is what launched my career, and it was a direction. And this caused no end of upset and consternation, because obviously on the television, the TARDIS appears. It apparates out of thin air, and they thought, well, how are we going to get around that? And so they got over it by lowering me in a fully constructed TARDIS made of plywood. I was inside with a fire extinguisher, and they lowered me from the roof of the Island Hall while I was inside, squirting a fire extinguisher out of the bottom, so that all this CO2 billowed about underneath me, and it nearly brought the house down, both figuratively and literally, because we had to do it 4 nights in a row, and we'd never get away with it now, obviously. But then it was groundbreaking stuff.
The ultimate entry.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I can still remember the applause now. They just went absolutely crazy. No one could believe it.
Now, you are the virtuoso as far as panto is concerned, and really, can we take a look at the origins? Because I see that it dates back to Italy in the 16th century.
Possibly. I'm not, I write pantos, but I'm not a great authority on them. I'm sure there's a definition of the word pantomime. If you take it apart etymologically, it will probably mean panto is, I have no idea, mime. Everyone knows what mime is, but I don't know what panto means.
But then we get into a situation where there was a guy in London called John Rich, who was an actor manager of Lincoln's Inn Theatre, 1714 this is, and he apparently saw scope for it, and it sort of all developed from there. Yeah,
well, and of course, I suppose the whole tradition of the principal boy being a female actor probably stems from the prohibition against female actors being female on stage. Even all the actors back then had to be male, and all the male actors had to play the female role. So the principal boy might have been a reaction to that. Certainly the panto dame probably grew from that whole tradition in the first place.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And presumably, it had music hall connections as well, because lots of people in Victorian times would go to the music hall because that was the source of entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back a long, long way, as you know. I mean, there are so many pantomimes, and they're on, well, every year, except for this one, I think. The Mother Gooses, the Babes in the Wood. Those are 2 I haven't done yet. At some point in the future, I might tackle them. But yeah, it goes back a long, long way. And it's been an annual event. Traditionally, always starts on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, and continues through till March. So, you can be in springtime and still go to a panto in the UK.
Then the actor can take a rest and then get involved in the summer season.
Well, we do have, but we are the theatre group, so we do have some things planned ahead. I think Charlotte's got
Yeah.
something on the cards, but I'm not sure what yet. Although I did hear a whisper, I'm not allowed to say.
And of course, we have a situation where some of them are based on facts, like Dick Whittington, for example,
Yeah.
and others are sort of Grimm's fairy tales, which are, for youngsters, are quite gloomy things, aren't they?
The originals were, I mean, crikey, the originals were really, really dark. I mean,
Yeah,
children being killed and murdered. I mean, if you look at the gingerbread, the witch in the gingerbread house, she was going to cook those children and eat
yeah,
them. Nasty stuff, really, if you think about
yeah.
it.
Had a nasty sense of humour, those Grimm boys, no doubt
Yeah,
about
I
that.
love them.
There we are. We've talked about dames and principal boys and everything else, but interestingly, it's also a question that you get into this question of catchphrases.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Oh
I don't.
no, you don't. Oh, it's behind
Yeah,
you, and all of that. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
and of
audience
course,
participation is part and parcel, so we try to bring them on and get them cheering and
yeah,
laughing and
yeah.
what have you. You know, every little helps.
We saw John Inman in Woking quite a few years ago, and of course, I'm free every opportunity to,
Was he
sort of
Buttons?
put. Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he'd make a
Are
perfect
you free? I'm free.
Buttons. Yeah.
And of course, the other thing, Christine will probably nail my head to the wall later, but we went to see Peter Pan on one occasion up in town, and it was pretty good. And of course, it gets to the bit where Tinkerbell, do you believe in fairies? And I say that there was a pregnant pause, and if I hadn't have said yes, the show would have not moved on one bit. Christine says there was no gap, but
We should have said, "I'm free."
yes, absolutely. But hissing and booing and being generally nasty to the villain is all part of it, isn't it?
Oh, it's encouraged. It's encouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
Hook, boo and hiss as much as you like, and Pan
Yeah.
and Tinkerbell and all the others cheer and howl your head off.
Yeah.
We just want
Yeah.
everyone to enjoy themselves and
Yeah.
join in the fun.
So there we are. That's good stuff. Now you're watching Tony at 12. Tony LeBlanc in conversation with Lee Flewitt. Pantos, plays, and novels I've got down. So there we are. Let's go on now a little bit with the pantos. The first one, am I right in thinking, was Carry On Camelot?
Carry On Camelot. Yeah, that was my the first one I wrote. I think I'd been in a
Yeah.
couple before that, which other people had written here on the island. And then I decided I'd have a go. And that was based on, well, it was based on the myth of Camelot. And we just put Carry On in front of it because we thought, we'd go with the franchise. No one ever came after us with that, but it was that kind of humor. So that's what we went with.
Did you find it difficult to do the first one?
No, I've never really found them particularly difficult. There's a lot on Alderney that you can have a pop at, basically.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
You've just got to open the journal, go back a few months with the journals and the press and see what's going on, or the Guernsey press, and just take the mickey. We'll even tackle international events and things. Anything that's happening in the world, we'll put it in there and take the mickey and have a go.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Now you've had you've got Peter Pan coming up in a couple of days' time.
Yeah,
but you also had another
go. First rehearsal tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we are. But you had another go at it in 1998, didn't you?
Yeah, that was quite spectacular. I can't promise we're going to have the same kind of spectacle because health and safety have tightened the rules and regulations now, and we cannot crash land a half-scale Trilander onto the stage anymore, unfortunately. But that's what we did then, and I got to tell you, that's another one that never brought the house down.
It was good. I remember it. Yeah. I remember it. And of course, it does mean if you don't have a Trilander in the auditorium, it gives you a bit more room to get a few more people in, I suppose.
No, but we do.
That was quite a sensational thing to do.
It was fantastic, and we had a really good special effects crew on board at the time. Unfortunately, we've lost them now. They're doing other things, but they were fantastic. They built this thing from nothing. It was actually smoking when it crash landed. So they had some kind of
Yes.
incendiary in it. Can you imagine doing that now? They'd have the fire brigade around there. We'd have to evacuate. You're not even allowed to, use a vape in there now, let alone have a smoking aeroplane crash landing onto the stage.
Now, coming on a bit further, 2000 you did Aladdin.
Yeah.
That's a fairly traditional one, I guess.
Yeah.
And then a bit of a departure in 2003 with Gladiators. I don't recall that.
Yeah, well, because Gladiator was such a huge film and everyone loved it. It's one of my favorite films of all time. And I just thought, what a great idea to take something so heavy and action-packed and turn it into Alderney. Because all of my pantos take place basically in Alderney. And so we envisaged Alderney as this gladiatorial prison where all the European prisoners were brought to train and be killed for the pleasure of the emperor, and how they rebelled. And there were the locals who were led by Boudica, and she had these massive conical brassiere on. It was stuck out. Nearly had my eye out a couple of times. And so it was all done in great jest. We had Gladiators, we had Dougal in there, we had Bill Walden, we had a lot of people. And unfortunately, we can't get them anymore. They're too busy doing other things, but they were absolutely brilliant.
Did Dick Whittington, didn't you? That was presumably fairly conventional.
Yeah, we did Dick Whittington. That was fairly conventional because obviously that's all about London. But obviously just another one chock full of local jokes. It's just a template, really. We just use the basic panto as a template. And then we chuck all the local jokes at it because it's essential that it's a local panto for the local people. They want to laugh at the state's members. They want to laugh at all the local dignitaries and celebrities on the island. And so anyone who dares to put their head above the parapet during the course of a year is just asking for it to be shot off. And we don't hold back, and no one has ever taken umbrage, which is lovely.
Wow, it's part of the fun of the thing, isn't it, really, I guess, from that point of view. 2009, Jack and the Bean Jar. Now, that sounds a bit like the campsite scene in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, there was, well, obviously, we did have a few flatulent jokes in there. We also had a beanstalk, which didn't, because there was a hitch, I think, in the first performance where the beanstalk is supposed to rise out of a pot where the beans had been chucked, and it was supposed to rise up to the ceiling, and it didn't. That's my telephone, I'm afraid. Sorry, it'll cut in.
It's all right. Keep going.
In fact, what happened was the cable, which was supposed to be lifting it through the ceiling, snapped, and it all sort of came tumbling down. And poor old Jack was there on stage, anticipating having to sort of climb it. And I don't know what he said, but he got away with it. And then thankfully the curtains closed, and that was the end of the first half. But these sorts of things, people actually like it when things go awry. That's the lovely thing about panto. If you're doing Macbeth,
of course they do.
Or Death of a Salesman, something like that happens. That is death of the performance. But if it happens in a pantomime, you can ride it out and get away with it.
Pirates of the Coronation.
Well, that was the ultimate local pantomime. We just had Pirates of the Caribbean, or that series. They were out and they were doing huge money. I mean, Hollywood was reeling with the amount of money that was coming in from that one. So obviously, fair game for a panto. And I thought, well, let's do it Pirates of the Coronation, even scans. And all of the local pirates in that panto, they were named after all the locals who were going to the coronation. So we had Wobbly Bill, we had Mad Dog, and they absolutely lapped it up. They were there on the first night, howling their heads off because we were having a right good pop at them as well.
Alice in Blunderland, that took place in 2012.
Yes.
That's quite a difficult one to do. Did you have a caterpillar and?
No, well, we adjusted the story to the budget. We had a Mad Hatter. We had the King and the Queen. We had various other things with pages, and we had the cards. Oh, the cards were very funny. Nigel Soane-Sands and somebody else. I can't remember who. And no, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. We had great fun with that. And the lovely thing is, Blunderland obviously is Alderney. And the amount of fun you can have with the whole concept of that, well, it's endless really. So it perfectly suited our pantomimic remit.
2018, Sleeping Beauty and the Beasts.
Yeah, that's a mashup, and that one was born from the title, because I thought that is such a good title, because it's Sleeping Beauty and Beauty and the Beasts mashed up. I said, we've got to do something with that. And I think my wife came up with the title, and I said, that's it then. That's the title. Now she wanted, yeah, that's right. She wanted co-authorship on that one because she came up with that. And I said, not a chance. I've got to go and write it and spend 2 months writing this blooming thing now. And of course that lent itself very well. We had a shipwreck. That was fun, on the island where Professor Preference lived. And he was a very intelligent man, and he could cure the Sleeping Beauty, who had this incurable sleeping illness. Unfortunately, when she slept, she turned into a werewolf. And so that was the beast element. And that was really quite chuffed with the story and how we wound that all up together, and kept the both elements of the stories, you know, sort of running simultaneously, you know, in tandem.
Yeah, that's clever stuff. And of course, this year, Peter Pan, a sellout, I believe.
Peter Pandemic.
Yes.
Laughter is infectious. That was the that's the little byline. Yeah, I'm very chuffed with it. Very pleased. And this time I've gone into it trying to answer a few questions. I'm not going to do any spoiler alerts because that would be counterproductive, but stand by to be slightly astonished by where the story goes. There are 3 twists hard on each other's heels at the very end of the panto. And I think one of them will, when I first did it in front of the cast and crew who hadn't known what the twists were, there was an audible gasp of astonishment. And I'm hoping to get that tonight and over.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Are you coming?
Yeah. Lee, no, unfortunately we can't because all the tickets have gone.
Oh, well, we've got a dress rehearsal tonight, and there are, I think, seats left in the dress rehearsal. We've got an audience tonight because demand has been so high. Tickets sold out in the first week for every performance, which is unprecedented. So we've decided that people can come to the dress rehearsal. So we're doing a full dress rehearsal tonight with the technicals and the musicians and the choir, all the actors. So it should, with any luck, be like a proper performance. We've got about 70 people coming already. So if you feel like you want to have a bit of a night, bring. We don't have a license for the bar, so bring your own bottle, and you're very welcome to sit in.
Well, that's very kind of you. That's great.
Yeah.
Coming back to this question of writing, you also do a lot of the directing, do you?
I help with the directing. Charlotte is the director.
Yeah.
She's much better at it than I am. But if, as the writer, I've got the vision, and if she does something and I say, well, that's not quite how I envisaged it, she will say, well, how do you envisage it? I say this, that. And so in a way, I'm kind of the director's apprentice, you know, or advisor to the director. Basically, I'm the writer, and I don't like to cross over. I think if I get asked someone to direct, that's their job. Let them do it. And so that's the way we do things with the theatre group. Delegation.
Yeah, you've written it. It's down to them to try and interpret it.
Yeah,
if you think they're going a little bit off the rails, you try and steer them back.
Yeah.
Now, you also wrote a play, didn't you? Is there anybody there?
Is there anybody there? Which we put on twice. We put it on. I think it went. I got it published. I mean, it was the first thing I ever got, well, the only thing I've ever had published, and it was published the first time with very few. Additions. They just said, oh, we like this, just take out a couple of words here and there, and we'll go with it. It hasn't made me tons of money. I think the last check I got from who was it, Marshalls or somebody, one of the big ones, was for about £1.80p, and that was my yearly royalty on it. And I put it up on Facebook.
Less tax.
If anyone ever doubts I'm a published author, Yeah, Yabu sucks, you know, and there was the check, and it was this
Yeah,
check for £1.80.
yeah.
I think I'd sold 3
Yeah,
books that
but I
year.
mean, it's great though, Lee, to actually get published.
It
It's
was
not that
fantastic. It was a
easy to get
fabulous feeling.
published.
It was about
Yeah,
30 years
yeah,
ago, and we put it on
yeah,
again on its 13th anniversary because it was a supernatural whodunit. And so we
yeah,
thought, well, it's the 13th anniversary of the first time, and we actually
yeah.
got most of the original cast back
Hmm.
to do it again, and it was fantastic. And we had
Mm.
full houses, and everyone loved it, and it had special effects and all sorts of things going on. I think I actually had my daughter in it playing a ghost.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that was delightful. Yeah.
Now, now, once you've got this one out the way, planning for another one at the end of 2021.
We shall see. We shall see.
It's a lot of effort, isn't it?
It's a huge amount of effort, and sometimes you think, "Oh, never again,
Yeah.
never again." But in, you know,
Mm.
by the time I get to Alderney Week and I'm all frothed up with helping out with that, I might say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm going to write another one." I think I might delegate more, especially of the production, because
Yeah.
organizing things, organizing the hall, organizing the bookings, organizing, working around other people who use the hall as well, can
Yeah.
be a diplomatic minefield. Uh, Thankfully, everybody we've had to negotiate with has gone out of their way to be helpful. We're very pleased with all the reactions we have, but we do inconvenience people, and we are aware of that, and we don't like to do it. So I
Yeah.
do. I won't be missing that very much. And things are getting more difficult as well with things like health and safety and what have you. You've got to be so careful. We've
Mm.
got kids as well, and sometimes they have to be home before it's convenient for us to send them home. But they're kids, you've got to send them home. They need their sleep. So, you know, if
Yeah.
we want
Sure.
to rehearse till 9:30, 10 o'clock, they've got to be gone. And
Mm.
that means we're rehearsing without them, which is inconvenient.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
all sorts of, there's tons of stuff you've got to negotiate, and frankly, I'd rather not have to bother with that. If someone asks me to write a panto, I'll happily write one, and I'll happily be in one because
Yeah.
I'd love to have a part because you know, I always write myself a small part because I'm so busy doing other things. I mean, tonight I'll be doing the stage management, so I've got a small part at the beginning, and I've got a very small part at the end, and there's a couple of bits where I fit in as a token pirate. But I want to be a panto dame. That's my dream. Get a big frock on and you know, put the voice on.
And conical whatnots.
Comical whatnot, all of
um,
that.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know,
Yeah.
if if everything was fine in the world, would you have liked to have done it professionally? You know, as a career, or
Yeah, I mean, I do intend to.
do
I
you
mean,
think it would have?
I'm 63 now. I intend to retire at some point in the future. I've got another novel which is in the works.
Hmm.
I've not sent it out yet. I'm going to do a final edit when all of this furore is finished with. Get started into that probably after Christmas, edit it down, send it out. And if that catches fire, that will be my career.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it?
That's
Now,
always been
can I,
my dream since I was a teenager.
am I allowed to say break a leg?
You are. If you don't, I'd
Okay,
feel
well,
something was amiss.
well,
You,
have to send that to all the participants tonight, don't we? And
but
you know,
we
for the
do,
next
and
couple of
some of them
days,
have
break a
peg
leg.
legs, so it's highly appropriate.
Lee, thank you so much for sparing me some time today. It's great to talk to you. Wish you all the best tonight. And I've also got to thank our facilitator, David Earl, Ilona, of course, because she helps with the publicity on Tony.at.12 and the panel. And if you don't use social media, you can email me to go on the info list. It's tony.at.12, TWELVE, @gmail.com. So there we are. So wish you all the best, and you just take care, Lee. And we
Thank you.
look
Pleasure,
forward to
Tony.
seeing your future work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bring my laptop and charge it down when you come, please.